Welcome to the Minecraft Education Edition tutorial on coding. In this tutorial, you will see things about MakeCode as well as command blocks. Now, when you load up this world, you will appear here in front of this sign. There are several signs that have been added to this world to help facilitate your learning of both command blocks as well as the MakeCode section. Here you can see a sign that just kind of talks about the general overview of talking to NPCs as well as reading these signs. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the Tornament clerk so you can see the functionality of the command blocks as well as the command lines part of the NPCs. First, I'm going to make sure that I have World Builder and Creative Mode on. So to do this, you would hit / Game Mode space C, Enter. This should put you in Creative Mode. To make sure that you have World Builder on, all you have to do is hit / WB, Enter. Now you can see that it says World Builder status has been updated to True, which means I am currently in World Builder mode. Now if I go over to the Tornament clerk and I right click on him, or press M if you changed your commands, you will see that you have the option to name him, edit the dialog, and advanced settings. If you click on edit dialog, you'll see that I already have a command in here as well as some text. If you click on advanced settings, you'll see that this is the command that I already have in. This is a teleportation command that will send the user to the tournament grounds. It says / TP for teleport, @P meaning nearest player, and that's always you, whoever selects the button. Then I have the 3 coordinates X, Y, and Z that bring you to the tournament grounds, and I want to make sure that the user is facing the center of the tournament, so I have facing and then the other coordinates for the center. The center is where the zombies will appear once prompted. And then you can add some text here for the button and make sure button mode is selected. You could also add several other commands as well as URLs to be clicked. So what it's saying is that it'll teleport us over to the tournament grounds where we can fight some zombies. But first, and more importantly, is getting equipment. So what I did here, just for ease, I created another command block here that'll send us directly to the blacksmith. Now, before I get into command blocks, I want to make sure that we cover the NPCs. So I'm going to walk onto this panel, and now I can see the blacksmith. If I go up to him, and again, right click, I can edit dialog or go into advanced settings to see the 2 different commands. Now, one is to get armor, the other is to get a sword. The armor one is a little bit more complicated because it's replacing a slot for the armor. This means that not only are you going to get the item, but it's automatically going to be equipped. So this is the replace item function. However, you could also do give, which would just give the user, whoever clicks on it, that item. So this says replace item to the entity player. Slot.armor.chest indicates the slot for the armor. 1 diamond chest plate. Now I can put other types of armor here, but just for the tutorial we have diamond chest plate. Now you can see that they're all the same except for the slot armor changes, and then the diamond boots, helmet, and leggings also change because it has to correspond with the right armor. The sword one is a little bit easier. It's replace item for the entity of the player, slot hotbar 0. Hotbar 0 is the first inventory slot that you have active, so it'll automatically put this diamond sword into the slot hotbar. Now, to make sure it works, you can click on edit dialog, and then you can click on the different buttons. Now if I press E for inventory, the chest will bring me to the player, and you can see that I already have these selected, or these equipped. Now I want to get my sword, so I'm going to right click, edit dialog, sword, and you can see that I have it selected in my first spot. Now to see what the player would see, you could turn World Builder off. So again, / WB, right click, and now you can see it's just dialogue and the buttons. I can't edit anything. So I can hit / WB again just to make sure that I'm on World Builder, and I can go back to the tourney. Over here I added another command block so we can easily go back. Okay, Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to where we have the tournament. Now you could come over here and you can talk to this NPC who is going to explain a little bit more about command blocks. So if you go into edit dialog, you can see that there's 3 different buttons added. Now if I go to advanced settings, you'll see that they're URLs. So when you turn off World Builder, you can actually click on these, and this one will bring you to an overview of command blocks. This one will give you an overview of commands, and this is a YouTube video that fully explains command blocks. Now what I recommend doing is playing around with the commands. Now the easiest way to do this is to do the commands for yourself. So if you click on, or if you press the / button, you'll see that that there's a bunch of codes already here, but you can type in different words and then it'll automatically populate what you need in order to create that function. So I'm going to try the give function, which is to give a player an item. So if I type give, you can see that on the bottom, now it tells you exactly what you need to put in order to get an item. So I'm going to type give space. The next thing it wants to do is select a target. So I'm going to hit @S for self. Now the reason why the NPCs and the command blocks have P nearest player is because the command block, if you type @self, it really means the NPC or the command block. So to give it to you, you have to do nearest player. But because I'm doing a command for myself, it's for self. I'm gonna hit space. Now I want to give myself an item. So I'm gonna give myself an anvil just because it's on this list. So ANVIL, and you can see it automatically populates. Now it wants an amount. I'm going to just give 1. I'm going to hit space. It always asks for data because some of the blocks, they have different variations, but we don't have to worry about that here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit enter because we don't need the rest of the components here. And you can see on the hotbar, we now have an anvil. So another example of this would be to do game mode, just like what we did before. So say I want to change it to survivor. So I'm going to do / game mode, and you can see it automatically populates. If I hit space, I can do A for adventure, C for creative, D for default, and S for survival. Now a slightly more complicated one, I could do game rule. And you can see that there's a bunch of different rules that are here. You can turn off and on a bunch of really cool things for your world. But what I'm going to do is I want to change the allow mobs function. I want to change that to false. So that means that a mob is any creature, any monster, any animal. So I'm going to type in allow mobs space false. Enter. Now this means that nothing, even if I stand on this pressure plate here, once things spawn, they automatically die because nothing can be spawned. So this is a way for you to kind of play around with things and test different things. But if you go talk to this NPC here, you can always click on command list, and there are a lot of different commands that you can use in this game if you don't want to just kind of hit / and play around with these. One useful thing, you can do / help, and there's some abilities and everything that are there, and you can go through the different pages. But all of that information is listed on the internet, so I do recommend that. Now for command blocks. Command blocks are a little bit different. So we have a bunch of command blocks that are under here that spawn a zombie. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you these very simple command blocks that helped us teleport around. So we have a pressure plate, redstone, and then the command block. Remember, to get a command block, you have to use the give command. So / give space. You want to give it to yourself. And I'm going to type in command block. And you can see how it automatically populates to tell me exactly how I need to put this in. Space. 1, enter. Now you can see in my third spot I have the command block. This is the only way to get a command block in Minecraft. Now you can see this redstone that's right here. The redstone essentially acts as a wire. Now there is no redstone in the tournament because we have the command block and then a dirt block and then a pressure plate on top of that. Now when you press the pressure plate when it's above, it automatically activates the command block. But above ground, we have to make sure that we have some redstone here. There's other variations to activate these command blocks, but this is the easiest one. Now if I right click or press M on the command block, you'll see the command block window. Now you can name it if you want to. You don't have to, but to keep yourself organized, it's not a bad idea. You have block type, impulse, chain, and repeat. Impulse is if you just want to activate it once. Chain is if you're going to chain multiple blocks together, like I have in the zombie example, which I'll show you in a minute. And then repeat would mean that it's always looking. It's always trying to activate itself. This is only good if you're running something like a detector or something like that. You don't want to do this on a spawn or a teleport. Condition, unconditional, and conditional. These are used for more complicated things, such as the chaining and everything else, but most of the time if you just leave it on unconditional, that's fine. And then if it needs redstone or not. If you want it to be teleporting or anything like that, if you want somebody to step on it, you use needs redstone. That's where the pressure plate comes in. If you want to have it always active, so anything in the area could teleport or whatever, you would have it as always active. So this is the setup that I have right now. This usually works for most commands. Now, if you look here, it's just a very simple teleporting command, just like we have with the NPCs. /teleport, nearest player, the command, the coordinates, facing other coordinates. This means that when you teleport, you're going to be facing something very specific, just to make sure that all players, when they teleport, they're looking at what you want them to look at. Now something a little bit more complicated is the zombie tournament grounds. Now I'm going to dig this up to make it a little bit easier for us to see. And we have 3 command blocks. We have 2 that are one color, and then we have the initial. Remember, this is the one, the first one, the orange one, is the one that gets the pressure plate. If I right click on this, you can see that it's set up exactly the same way that we had before. Impulse, unconditional, and needs redstone. And you'll see that it's a summon command. Summon commands are for you to summon creatures or mobs or something like that. So I use this to summon zombies to this coordinate. Now that coordinate is actually right here in the middle, which is the same coordinate that when you teleport, it's facing here. So you're automatically looking at the zombies. So I wanted to have 3 zombies appear, and command blocks only allow one thing at a time. So what I did was, and you can see that these arrows face each other, and it's open in the back, meaning it's chaining. This is a little bit tricky to make sure that they're facing the same way. You have to make sure that when you place them, you place it against the back here, but you can't place it against another command block because it'll enter the edit mode. So if you angle it here on the side and press it, you can see that the arrows are now facing this direction. So keep that in mind. So we have the first command block, which is summon. We have the second one, which is also summon. It's the same exact thing, copy and paste it over. However, I have it set to chain, conditional, and always active. Always active because I want to make sure that it's always active in order for the previous one to activate it. Conditional because we need to make sure that the first one is activated first. And chain because it's part of a larger chain. And again, the summon is the same. Third one, exactly the same as the second. So when this activates, all 3 zombies are going to appear on the same spot. Now I could have staggered them, I could have put them in different spots, but I decided to have them all spawn on the same one, just for ease. Now, I could add more if I want. I could add a bunch more command blocks, and I could also make it more complicated. I could have multiple things spawn, I can teleport things around. There's a lot of things that can be done here with command blocks, but this is the simplest way of doing it. I really recommend doing something simple to learn command blocks because they can get complicated. But this and NPCs, they're really the same thing. But NPCs, you can have 4 commands at once, and you can have everything separated by buttons. So now we're going to go into the MakeCode. So I'm just for to have some space, I'm going to move over here, and I'm going to press C to go into the MakeCode. Now, the first time you open it, it's probably going to ask you which one you would like to select. If you would like to select MakeCode or the other option. So the first option, the one that has the Windows symbol, this symbol here, that's the one that you want to select, because the MakeCode is what we're working with in class. So now you have a couple options here. You can either start a new project, which gives you a clean slate. You could run a tutorial, which will show you exactly step by step on how to create one of these options here. So billboards, you can make a compass rose, you can fast forward time, you can dig, you can do a flower trail, mega jump, etc. Now these down here, superpowers, agents, mobs, etc., these will automatically load the code for you, and then you can mimic it. So this is a really good way to learn a little bit about how coding works by looking at an example. So I'm going to click on Flower Trail just to show as an example. And we have the code right here. We don't have to do anything at all. If we want to activate it, we just click on the green button down here. But we have the code available to us. Now, this is placing 3 different flowers directly at your feet when you walk. Now, I'm going to change this just to show you how this works. I'm going to change this to sprint, and I'm going to delete this, so you can just drag it over here to delete it. And I'm going to click on blocks, and it says on player sprint. And now I want to place the blocks under me. So I'm going to use this one up here, the top block. And I don't want to place grass blocks, I want to actually place fire. And instead of it being right under me, I'm going to change this to -1, meaning the X value, so behind me. Now if I press play, it'll bring me back to the game. And when I sprint, which is double tapping W, the forward button, if I turn around, you can see that now there's fire. So if I press C again, I could go in here and I could change it if I like to. And there's a lot of different options for customizing something as simple as this. Another common one would be clicking on basic, chat command. So chat command is when you type a certain word, something will happen. So I'm going to leave it at jump just for it to be easy. And when this happens, I want to spawn an animal in front of me. So I can hover over and see all the different animals that are available to me. I'm not going to choose a water animal just because we're not next to water. So I'm going to just do an ocelot, and I want it to be 1 in front of me, 1 above me, and 1 to the side. So this is again when I say jump. So I'm going to hit play. I'm going to hit the letter T to enter chat, and I'm going to type jump, enter, and we have an ocelot. So if I go back into C, I can do this for any number of commands. You could zoom in and out down here to give yourself more workspace. But really, what I want you to do is experiment. I want you to play around with some of these. On player movement, on chat commands, when certain blocks are placed, when you use certain items, when certain animals are killed or when certain monsters are killed. There's a lot of different things that you can do here, and it's pretty simple because you can see that blue is usually the container for the character, and then the conditionals are usually purple. So anything that has to do with animals and all that. And then you can move things around as long as it fits. So as long as it's the same, as long as it is the same shape. Now you can see some of them are round, like this one. The round ones go into the round slots. So you can play around with different combinations that way as well. So if you have any questions at all about this, first I recommend Googling what question you have. I also recommend trying out some of the tutorials that are down here, and they'll really show you how to do some of the basic functions. And then also you have plenty of examples here on how to do different things. So if you need anything, you can email me, but I highly recommend just playing around and really trying to try to make 5 different commands in any way that you can. You can model them after things that you see in the examples, but try to be a little bit original as well. Try to come up with some situations that you think would be interesting, and see how you can play around with either command blocks, NPCs, or the coding.